Today, our topic is what to do in Q4. We're calling it Q4 Playbook because you should have a playbook for Q4. Uh, and we have some interesting topics around Q4 and Q1 planning to discuss today. But mainly, I want to kick off by saying that unfortunately, in my 2 decades of business experience working with founders, both big and small, I feel like a lot of people drop the ball when it comes to planning and also auditing assessments, reevaluating goals, measuring, tracking, and then ultimately saying, how should we start next year? And reflecting back, what have we achieved this year? What haven't we achieved? And what is realistic to achieve? So what do you think about that, Tracy? I just wonder if you have a similar experience with me as me,
I
or
think we need to take it a step back from that, even. I agree with you. I don't think enough people use Q4 to plan well. I agree with that. I certainly don't think enough people look back as to what's happened in this year and what went well and what didn't, and what can we move into next year and what shouldn't we. And I think those are two great subjects to discuss in a minute. But I have an even bigger subject to discuss first. One thing I think most people don't do in Q4 is I still think there's a lot of business to be had in Q4. I mean, we've got 90 days, and I want to start off this discussion, if I can, not looking into 2026, not looking back at what's worked and what hasn't, but actually thinking in these next 90 days, what can we do to push deals over the line before the end of the year? And there's a lot we can do, an awful lot we can do. So I want to give you 3 or 4 points that every salesperson should be doing right now to see how they can push as many deals over the line before the end of this year, before we even talk about prep for next year, if that's okay. Yeah, good. Okay.
I
Let's
love it.
first of
Salesperson
all,
here.
yeah,
Salesperson, yay.
yes, sale, yeah. First of all, if I was a sales team leader right now, this is what I'd be telling my team to do. I would be asking them to go through their CRM system and sort it out. If they even use a CRM system, that is. But I'm just going to assume they do for the point of this conversation. So I would be asking them to sort it out into probably 3 areas. Number one, what leads have we got going on that are not going to realistically close in this quarter? And if you know they're not going to close in this quarter, we need to push them into 2026 and be realistic about it. Number two, what leads are we never going to close? And then we need to get rid of them, just get them out. And that leaves us with the leads that we think A, have a good chance of closing, and B, have a good chance of closing within the next 3 months. And that's the first thing I would like people to focus on. Those live active leads that we think have a good chance of being a sale, and we think have got a good chance of being a sale, and forget about anything else. That's number one that I would be asking them to do. Number two, I would be asking them is, let's have a look at our past clients. Now, these are clients that are perhaps not doing business with us right this minute, but are still in business. Because if they are still in business, they're buying from somebody. If they're not buying from us, they're buying from somebody. And the good thing about these people is, unless we've really done an awful job for them and upset them, they know us already. So part of the hard work of, that trust and getting to know you is done already. So I would be asking my sales team to have a look at the previous clients that we've done business with that are still trading and see if we can rekindle that relationship because they're good, strong prospects. As
Okay,
well,
Tracy.
sorry?
Uh, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think we have to break this down because you've got so much advice to give, but I think the audience might be like taking notes. So I
Okay.
think just want to recap what you've said. It's number one, identify what sales are realistic to
Yeah.
close still into Q4 because a lot of people just kind of give up, shrug their shoulders, and say, okay, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And number two, to get rid of the sales that we are taking up our time, right? The ones that aren't going to close or that could just, they could close, but we know it's a big complex deal. It's not going to happen in the
Yeah.
next 3 months, realistically. And then the third thing you said, uh, and this is all in our CRM, ideally, we should be going
Yeah.
into our CRM database, which, gosh, if you don't have a CRM, everyone listening, what
Get
do you
one.
do? You have a little Rolodex or you write it down on a piece of paper? Come on, this is 2025. We need to have a good CRM. Um, and then what was the third thing you said? Because you already kind of lost me there.
The third thing I said is don't forget the people who we've already done business with in the past, who are not doing business with us right now, but are still in business, so they're buying from somebody else. Is it possible that we can rekindle that relationship? And I'm going to give you another one. What about your existing clients, the ones who are your customers right now? They are buying something from you. Is there something else that they should be buying from them? Can we cross sell or upsell into our existing customers? So there's three areas there that I would be asking all sales staff to look at. I'd be asking them to really be ruthless on their CRM and sort it out into the three categories: deals that can close, deals that will close but not in the last quarter, and deals that are never going to close. And then I'd be asking them to look at their existing customers who they're already doing business with. Can we upsell or cross sell to them? Because they're an easy low hanging fruit. And then I'd be asking them to look at their expired customers. If they're still in business, can we rekindle that relationship? Now, if you think about it, I have not at one point said here about going after new business. This is just stuff that we've already got going on or had going on, because actually there'll be a lot there. I think a lot of salespeople are constantly chasing after the shiny, the new. And in the last quarter, realistically, my advice to any sales team would be look at what you've got in play already or had in play and see, can we push that over the line? Now, there's another conversation to be had about how to push that over the line, but they're the people I would be looking at. And trust me, if you do all of that, there will be quite a few that you will be able to strike deals with in the next 90 days. I guarantee it.
Okay, so that's a good segue for me to jump in from a marketing perspective because what you've focused on so far is excellent, but you've said primarily to review your CRM, to go pull out the CRM and look where people are in the pipeline and then make your follow-up list based on that. And I just want to give us a quick plug for our podcast because we have another episode, my friends, that's called Fantastic Follow-ups.
Mhm.
And so, everyone listening, we talk a lot about follow ups. We have a whole podcast episode about it. So, if you aren't subscribed, you're going to want to look up our new podcast, Pipeline to Profit. But back to marketing. So, uh, I I mirror everything you've said, but I wouldn't do the CRM per se because that's not what we marketers do. We're out in the field.
Mhm.
And so let me explain how you can take that data and expand it to capture even more interest. So I think that we're getting a lot of buying signals in marketing. And a lot of times, people don't focus on those buying signals enough in the companies. So, what kind of buying signals would I be looking for in Q4? Is I would be going in and upgrading my LinkedIn company page to the premium because the premium now allows you to see who has checked out your page. And you're also getting notified on LinkedIn that people are coming out. And so you might say, oh, well, who are these people? And let's see if some of these people might be people we've had previous conversations with or referrals from our existing customers. So I would be checking my LinkedIn company data very closely and looking for buying signals. Because here's what I've recognized over 2 decades is that people have money to spend in Q4.
Mm.
Okay, so before you wrap up your shop and put up your Christmas tree, let's back it up and let's say, let's help them spend that money. Let's help them.
Oh,
So where's that money going to go? It's going to be lost. A lot of it doesn't roll over. Their bosses are saying, "Wait, we allocated this money for Q4, so let's hurry and spend it." So LinkedIn buying signals are going to be my first thing because I'm a B2B person, as are you mostly. The second thing I'm going to be looking for is my website traffic. And I'm
mm,
going to be saying, how can I focus more on CRO on my website, which is not just having friendly visitors, but actually getting them to do something, to take an action, to click on something. Because as you guys know, there are softwares that can really be very invasive, that can figure out your IP address just because you looked at their website. I personally, as a marketer, don't like those tools because I feel it's too invasive and I feel like there's some issues that I would have with that. Um, so I just turned on closed captions, by the way, Tracy, because we have someone joining who needs them.
okay.
Um, but I just wanted to say that so LinkedIn would be my first bet, then the website would be my second bet. And what can we do on our website to capture more attention to see who might be looking for ways to spend that money is we can specifically off do a special deal. Like say like what we're doing right now. We could actually put out a campaign called, Q4 audit special offer.
Mhm.
Um, and spoiler alert, at the end of this call, I actually have such a thing. So that could be something that captures their attention, or, any kind of content that is going to say, hey, you're in the right place. We can help you spend
Mhm.
that money in a wise way. Then I would also have a chat bot on my website because I think chatbots are, when they're used the right way, they can capture a lot more attention. Where you're asking them, hey, just book a call, make it super easy for them to book a call. So the LinkedIn and your website would be the primary, and then your email. Look at the people who are clicking. I actually do a lot of segmentation, as you know, and maybe the people who have clicked a lot but haven't bought or used to be buyers, I'll send them that special deal via email as well and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, it's time to speak. Do you want to book a call just to check in and see how things are going and plan your Q1 or finish your Q4 the right way?" And you'd be surprised, all of those things are overlooked lurkers who are passively thinking about finding solutions in Q4, but we're just ignoring those buying signals. So that's what I would do from a marketing perspective.
I think in the last 15 minutes, we have given any team an awful lot to do. There's three things that you can do there from a marketing point of view. There's a few things you can do from a sales point of view. I loved your point about people have money to spend in quarter 4, because my goodness, they do have money to spend in quarter 4. And I think it's important that we, as you say, create the opportunity for them to spend it with us and not just assume. But what if somebody doesn't want to spend the money in quarter 4? What can we be doing in quarter 4 to set ourselves up for a really good 2026? Now, one of the things we mentioned at the start of this was reviewing what has worked well so far this year and actually what hasn't worked very well. So let's talk about that and how we can review what's worked well, that we might want to move it forward into 2026, and how we can actually bin off anything that has not worked very well. How would you do that, Krista?
Yeah, I love that. So I think that's where the metrics come in. So we need to develop really good habits throughout the year to measure and track our performance in all areas. And so if you're doing that and you're doing what I do is a monthly review to see what's working, what's not, it's easier for me to filter out the things that are moving the needle from the stuff that isn't working. And that can help me with a lot of things. It can help me double down on where the traffic's coming from and say, okay, it seems like we haven't quite nailed YouTube. We're not getting much traction there. Let's move that to Q1, but let's really double down what's working in Q4 for the past data it's showing us. And then maybe double down on the budget that we spend there to acquire leads. So, for example, if I see that LinkedIn is doing pretty well, I might say, hey, let's spend Q4 money to segment the leads and start targeting and retargeting them. And I would probably even go so far as to connect the dots, meaning look at the people who visited the website or clicked a lot in the email, upload that list into LinkedIn and run my ads just towards them
Mhm.
and
That's
have a
great.
call to action. So, and that's the other thing, a time sensitive call to action. So if you're just marketing for the sake of marketing or reaching out for the sake of reaching, oh, I'd like to check in with you. We get a lot of those messages, don't we, Tracy? We don't need another one. We need concrete, take action right now. So what I do, like what I'm going to do today is I have a limited time Q4 offer and I'm like, I have a limited number of slots that I can help you with your marketing to assess what's happened in Q4 and plan out your Q1. And that offer is going to go away. So I think you have to know who's looking, really segment your list down, but that's not enough. You also have to have a real good offer to offer them that has to be time sensitive. If it's not time sensitive, it's like, would you like to have a call sometime? Or would you have 15 minutes? No, I don't have 15 minutes. Make it very specific what you're asking for.
And I think from a sales point of view, what I would say for salespeople and sales teams is have a look at what's worked in this last year. Have a look at what activities have brought you in the most leads and actually what haven't brought you in any leads. So many sales teams I know spend a lot of time, for example, going to trade shows and exhibitions. And actually, when you sit down and look at the sort of data from that, what have you actually got from that? Not very much. So, is that the best use of your time? A lot of people spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, but what are you actually getting from LinkedIn? Are you actually getting any leads? If not, do we need to rethink our LinkedIn process as a salesperson? Or is our customers maybe not even on LinkedIn? Is there a better place for them? So I think as a sales team, what I would be doing in the last quarter is thinking about what activities have we done this year that have brought in the most leads and the most sales? What types of clients have brought in the most leads and the most sales? And I would be thinking, let's move those into next year. Do we spend more time, more money, more effort on those? And do we just delete some that are not working? One of the things I say to every sales team I work for is you do not need to do every type of lead gen. You need to work out which 4 or 5 are the best for your business, your industry, and double down on those. And as a salesperson as well, I would be having a look at your, if you like, your time. How long am I spending on this? How long am I spending on this? How long am I spending on this? Actually, does those 10 hours a week I spend on that bring in any business? Well, then stop doing it. So I would be assessing what it is I am doing on a day-to-day basis, which clients am I doing it with, which industries am I doing it with, and which platforms am I doing it with? Because I guarantee you, most sales teams, if I went in and said, where do you get your most leads from? How do you spend your time on? Most of them can't tell me that. So I would be using this time to assess that so I can go into 2026 with a much clearer plan and actually be spending my time and my money on what works and not spending my time and my money on what doesn't work. And it's the
Yep.
same thing you said. You're doing the audit from the marketing point of view. I'm doing the audit from the sales team's point of view. And they're different jobs, but it's the same principle. What's working? What's not working? Where am I spending my time? Where am I spending my money? Is that the best use of my time? Is that the best use of my money? And every sales team and every marketing team should be looking at that in this quarter so that they can feel confident moving into 2026, knowing that they're spending their time and their money on the right things that actually produce results. And I think the last thing, because we're running out of time, we need to talk about is planning. How do we plan for 2026? What would you do from a marketing point of view in terms of planning for 2026 in this quarter?
Well, first of all, I would have an expert advisor because uh, to be honest, I don't think you should be trying to plan on your own. And I am biased obviously because I work in the industry, but it's true. Like I don't think you should just be in your bubble trying to figure out what's working, what's not working. Should I stop? Should I continue? I think you need to find some kind of level of advisory, whether you can only afford a one-off consult or you can bring in someone for training or you can actually have a fractional long term. Doesn't matter. You need to have somebody who can guide you or at least bounce ideas off, whether it's a co-founder, even a co-founder of your company. But that's the first thing. And then number two is I think that you have to map out all these things based on actual facts with a little bit of intuition. Because some people have come to me and they'll be like, LinkedIn's not working. And I find one little tweak and immediately it starts working. So instead of like this black and white mentality of like, okay, let's stop doing LinkedIn because LinkedIn is dead,
Mhm.
or let's start doing this because that's the shiny object, base things on facts.
Mhm.
So your intuition is good, but not reliable. I would say look at the facts. So are people crushing it on LinkedIn? Yeah. So does that mean LinkedIn's not working anymore? You see, that's your opinion because you're frustrated, but it's not a fact. Um, Measure and track all your data. Look for buying signals, and then put together everything in writing. So whether you use KPIs or OKRs, I don't know if it depends on what your company operates under. You must have them. So if I
Mhm.
work with a founder who doesn't have any KPIs, I'm always like, that's a huge red flag. And I think you should start doing OKRs or KPIs, even if you're a solopreneur.
Mhm.
So I think even as a consultant, you don't even have to have any employees. You have to have your own personal KPIs. And that's kind of like your North Star. So you can guide yourself to see, okay, what's my ultimate business goals? And then based on the business goals of where you want to go in 2026, how does that translate down to my sales budget, my marketing budget, my operations budget, my hiring budget, where I'm going to spend my most time and effort, what I'm going to delegate versus what I enjoy doing and want to continue doing, and where is that headed over a 3 year to 5 year plan? So that's how I would work with somebody, a founder, if they came to me and said, what should I do to plan my successful 2026?
I am going to give the sales team three easy things that every sales team should be doing in the last quarter. You should be looking at your lead magnets, and we've got another episode on that you can listen to about what lead magnets are and how to use them. But you should be looking at your lead magnets in preparation for 2026. Do I need to update them? Do I need to create them? Let's get our things in place ready so that we can start 2026 strong. So that's the first thing I would be doing. Second thing I'd be doing is looking at my training. Do any of my team, or do I need some training to move me forward into 2026 with the right skills? Now, that can be training on marketing, it could be training on sales, it could be sales team leadership, it could be training on how to use LinkedIn, it could be training on cold call, it could be anything. But has my team had up-to-date training? And then the third thing I would be doing is setting some targets based, as you say, on facts, and setting some targets and working back those targets to work out what do we need to do to get those targets. So for example, if one of your targets was, I have to get in the first quarter 10 new clients signed up, you need to walk back to get 10 new clients signed up. How many meetings do I need? So it could be, well, I have a success rate of 1 in 3. So therefore, I need to make sure I've got 30 meetings booked in. How many outreaches do I need to get 30 meetings booked? Well, it's a 1 in 10 outreach. So I need 300 outreaches. So I would be working back from my end goal thinking, okay, if I want my sales team to get 10 new clients signed up in the first quarter, this is what they need to understand. They need to do this many meetings, which means this many outreaches, which means that we need these tools and this training in place to help them do that. Now, when I talk about tools, I'm not just talking about lead magnets. There is lots of new tech tools out there that most salespeople and most marketing people don't have a clue how to use. There's an awful lot of tech tools out there that most salespeople and most marketing people aren't even aware of that could help them. So I think this last quarter of the year, as well as doubling down on all those opportunities and special offers that we can push new deals over the line for 2025, is a time of planning for 2026. Do our marketing team, do our sales team have the knowledge? Do they have the skills? Do they have the data to move into 2026 with a clear skill set, a clear knowledge, and a clear understanding of what is required for them? That is what I'd be doing in this last quarter if I was still running a sales team, as well as doubling down on all those low-hanging fruit that we can collect in the last quarter.